Welcome to Caskets and Cocktails, Memoirs of a Cemetery Dude. Get ready for a hilarious dive into the world of death care where cemetery industry veteran Mr. Danny and his daughter Katie will answer all those crazy questions you've been dying to ask. Go ahead and pour yourself a drink, pull up a rocking chair, and get ready for some laughs because we guarantee Caskets and Cocktails will be the last ones to let you down.
Hey guys, Katie Leverett here.
Hey, I'm Danny Faulkner. I'm her daddy.
And welcome to Caskets and Cocktails. And Daddy, this is an awesome occasion.
It is an awesome occasion. It's an awesome location.
That's right. We are in the lovely Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
Whatever's above lovely.
I mean, it's just fabulous. We are sitting out on a porch right now. We're hearing crickets. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous weekend, Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, and everything is absolutely perfect. The house, the location. This is your mother's brother's house.
That's right. And boy, does Uncle Bill have an awesome story.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
See, I didn't hear it.
Oh, you're going to be shocked. And those of you who learned about us from Jim Harold's Campfire Show, we actually talked about Uncle Bill on his show.
That's right. Because we had a house in Americus, Georgia, that was supposedly haunted.
Yeah.
And we had a specific bedroom there that everybody in Americus, Georgia called Uncle Bill's bedroom.
And everybody was scared of it.
And everybody was scared of it, but Uncle Bill.
But Uncle Bill. He can sleep soundly, apparently.
Yeah. He would go to his bedroom and it was over.
Yeah. So, Uncle Bill, welcome.
Oh, well, thank you, Katie. Thank you very much.
We're really excited to have you on. And, Uncle Bill, you are a Navy pilot.
I went through flight training many years ago, Katie.
Many years ago.
Yeah, I sure did.
And so you don't have a background in death care like Dad does. You're married to his beautiful...
No, I'm married.
You're married to his sister.
Yeah, beautiful sister.
Beautiful sister. There we go. There we go.
Now you got it.
Yeah. We all are originally from East Tennessee. It gets confusing. But we were just talking about like a really cool burial story, and you have an experience or heard stories about burials at sea, which neither myself or Dad have any sort of idea about.
Well, it's a situation when I was going through flight training. I had a very good friend. Unfortunately, he did not make it through flight training, so he still had a military obligation. So he was transferred to Naval Air Station, South Weymouth, Massachusetts. And a year or so after he was transferred, I just happened to run into him at an officers club somewhere. And so we were just drinking a couple of beers, just catching up with each other. And so I was asking him what he was doing. And one of his collateral jobs was burial officer at South Weymouth.
Really?
And I said, my goodness, what's that involved?
I was going to say, I've never heard of it. Have you, Daddy?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of South Weymouth.
Well, it's a small naval air station up there, mainly for reservists. But anyway, we started talking, and he was telling me this story that since he was a burial officer, there was an old master chief that had retired years and years ago, died. And he must have been 85 years old or something like that. And he wanted to be buried at sea.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And so people actually want to be buried at sea. I would think that's something that you say, like, they fell off the boat. They're buried at sea now.
Well, see, I don't know anything about
that in my will.
But anyway, that's what he put in his...
into it.
Okay, so my friend was telling me the story that he didn't know anything about burial at sea, so there is a manual for it.
Okay.
So he read the manual and all that. So he's obviously the body came back from a funeral home, and it was delivered to the dispensary or hospital there at South Weymouth. And one of his duties that he had to do was to make sure the body was weighted down with weights, so when they committed the body to the sea, it would sink.
Okay, and so and it sounds like he didn't have experience in this. He read this in the manual.
That's absolute, and he got a little squeamish about putting weights on a body.
Yeah. If you're not in the mafia, I would think that would be weird.
And so what he did, he just threw the weights in the body bag and zipped it up. He didn't attach it to the body.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know what else you would do.
So anyway, they're on some kind of Navy ship. And in the manual, they have to go out 5-10 miles out, and the ship has to be dead at sea to commit the body to the sea. So they get out there. They got family aboard, everything. And they.
Is it like a big naval carrier?
No,
or a naval ship?
It's just a Navy ship.
Okay.
It's not a huge one, but here again, it's a Navy.
Decent size.
It's decent size. It's not huge, but anyway, they get out there. And the chaplain gets to the point and says, and now we commit you to the sea. And they raise the plank and down it goes. And so everybody leaves and goes back inside the ship. But my friend's standing there. The weights go right through the body bag.
Oh, no.
Stop it.
Oh, no.
I mean,
Straight to the bottom of the sea.
Straight to the bottom of the sea. And obviously.
Just ripped through the bag.
And obviously ripped a big opening in the bag, and the body comes out. And,
Stop it.
No.
And the body is floating.
Oh, my goodness.
Poor guy.
Guy, he didn't know. I mean, he was terrified, I'm sure, at this particular.
I'm sure he was.
But anyway, the family's inside. They don't see any of this because.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. And so it takes about 15 minutes to fire up a dead ship to get it running. Well, in the meanwhile, the tide has this body drifting away, and it gets out of sight.
Oh, gosh.
And my friend is saying, oh, my God, what am I going to do? Well, they finally get the ship fired up, and he looks on the horizon, and he sees a bunch of seagulls.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no.
This is terrible.
Oh, God. It's hard to believe. But anyway, so they go out there. They get to the body. He has these little outrigger boats beside this. They jump in that. They go out there. They tie more weights to the body, and down it goes. And they come back to the ship, and the family doesn't know a single thing about it.
Thank God. Yeah.
And so they didn't tell anybody.
Did he update the manual to say attach weights to body?
Well, the manual said that, but he was too squeamish to do it.
That's true.
Yeah, that was before duct tape.
So anyway, that's since I'm a naval aviator, burials at sea are not my forte. So, but anyway, this is what my friend told me, so I've got to take it as gospel.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Now that is an awesome story to get us started.
That really is.
Oh my gosh. So we are kind of going along that same lines today, kind of an organic type of burial. So
and that's pretty organic to be fed to the seagulls.
That's about as organic as it gets, huh? Or so you think. Because we have several questions from folks, and a celebrity who just recently passed away was buried in a really unique organic way.
Yes.
And so we've gotten a lot of questions about kind of organic type of burials.
Yes.
So if you guys will hang on with us for just a second and get a word from our sponsor, we will be back, and we want to talk more about this.
We'll be right back.
Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet is a comedy podcast featuring brother and sister duo Alex and Christina as they recap dramatic readings of one-star reviews written by real people with not-so-real problems. Whether it's a bar's no throw-up policy, a barista who's just too friendly, or a school psychologist's fashion sense, prepare for equal amounts of laughter and eye-rolling. Listen to Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also find them on all social media platforms at Beach Too Sandy. Well, that story is going to be hard to top.
I know. That was great, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness. Not only is Uncle Bill, like, the best.
Yes.
He is so funny, and what a great storyteller.
Yeah, and a cook.
Yeah, he's sitting right here, so we, you know.
Oh, yeah, let's not blow his head up.
Well, we are just really, really excited, and we've had so many questions come in recently about organic burials. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah. That's the big in vogue thing.
Yeah, and we had another special guest join us.
What's up, guys? This is Daniel. I'm back.
He's back. So you guys have heard from my brother, Mr. Danny's son, on a previous episode or two. And he's back, and we are going to be talking about organic burials. And one of the things that has really come up, and I've gotten probably 5 or 6 different emails about this recently, because Luke Perry has made the news.
The movie star.
I'm a child of the 90s, so I was a big 90210 fan. I'm a big Riverdale fan. And he was just an all-around awesome dude, apparently. I didn't know him personally.
Oh, okay.
Uncle Bill actually got to meet him.
Oh, yeah. My stepdaughter, Elaine, did a movie with him in Atlanta. Luke's a really nice guy. Very low-key.
Yeah, he was just, from all the reports, he sounded like an amazing guy. But he chose to be buried in a really unique way, in a green way, which we don't see a lot. Or at least I haven't heard of it a lot in the South. From the article that I read, it said that he was buried in a mushroom suit. So, what are your thoughts on? We're getting some giggles out of this crowd. So, I think we need to know more about what a mushroom suit is, and why you would want to be buried in one. I don't know.
Okay, first of all, it's not a suit. Okay, it's not like a coat and tie.
Well, like when I read it, it said a mushroom suit.
Well, I'm sure they said that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is.
Okay.
I mean, you don't see the guy in lapels, you know? What it is, it's kind of like a shroud, in that it's a very organic type fabric, like a burlap, a hemp burlap type thing, and it's more like a sack.
Okay.
And they have mushroom spores that they put on this mushroom, on this burlap sack, hoping that something is going to facilitate its growth. Okay? Now, this is the thing that you got to remember. These people are not embalmed. You basically dig a hole. They're not in a casket. They're not in a vault. You dig a hole, you put them in it, cover them up, and you're hoping that they're not so deep that the spores will not germinate, okay? I mean, they have to be shallow enough for them to germinate, and at the same time not be endangered, and this is gross, by wild animals.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah, If they're shallow, coons love that sort of thing.
Oh, God.
You know?
Gross.
But I'm not saying that's what happened to him. I'm not saying that, anything like that.
Oh, my God.
But these spores...
The 14-year-old girl inside of me is dying right now.
Well, well, I'm sorry. But the tendrils or the threads, the roots of this mushroom can be like 15 feet.
Oh,
so,
what?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the tendrils really go down. I mean, people see these mushrooms and they pick mushrooms for eating, or they have mushrooms on their lawn and they kill the mushrooms. Well, they don't kill them, because the roots are so far deep.
Okay. So I guess my question, Daniel, do you have a question about this?
I have many.
Lean up.
I have many questions. All right. First off, like, where do you buy such suits? Are they at the local haberdashery? May I purchase one? Can I walk around in a live suit? Do I have to be dead to have this suit?
Okay, these, like I said, it's not a suit. It's more like a sack. And if you want to walk around in a sack, that's up to you, big guy. But they come from funeral homes, okay?
Like, do you guys offer that at your funeral home?
Sure.
So, does the FDA, or I don't know, what is it? What's the EPA? Do they allow you to just like throw a body in a sack and throw them in the ground, or are they in a sack in a vault in the ground? That kind of defeats the purpose.
That defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
No, and let me explain to you why they can't regulate that. Okay. You know the part in the Constitution about separation of church and state.
Right.
Okay? So, they can't tell you how to bury people. They can't tell you that. They can't tell you how to have a funeral. They can't tell you anything like that. There is a straight line between church and state. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is say, according to my religion, you can't be embalmed. That's Muslims, it's Hindus, that's Jews, a lot of Protestant sects.
I mean, most of our family members choose not to do that as well.
Correct.
You know, it's a very normal thing. But my thing is, like, what if you were doing this next to, like, a stream?
Oh, see, you can't do that. Okay, you have to have an approved area by the health department.
Okay.
To do that sort of thing. The health department comes out, surveys, makes sure that there's no drifting into a water system or anything like that. Now, Daniel's raising his hand.
Yes, I have a question. So after the body decomposes, would the ground not then dent in? And so then you're just looking at a whole field full of dents, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's where people just decomposed.
Yes.
Pretty gross.
Yes, it does. You're exactly right. It's like, for instance, I have done a lot, not tremendous amount, but a lot of disinterments that date back into the 30s where there's no vaults. The embalming was a little bit less than desirable. The caskets were more wood, that sort of thing. And what you do with that is you dig down to a layer of black dirt, and that's the dead guy. And you scrape the black dirt up, put him in a new coffin, send him on his way. I mean, yeah, because as they...
He clearly didn't listen to the last episode.
As they decay, the body compresses, the dirt falls in, and there's a big, wash there. And that's where a dead guy was. That's just, everything is so cool until you want maintenance.
Yeah.
People are more and more into organics. They're more and more into things. For instance,
I mean, that's really the way it always was for millions of years.
Yeah, but I
mean, they didn't put people in like mushroom suits millions of years ago. Yeah. Let's not get carried away. But yeah. I mean, it was a more organic, more natural process. I personally love the concept, but I don't know if I like the back end now that you're talking about raccoons and holes and sinking and stuff.
You don't get paid for that.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, question, no, you might, because guess what? I have a friend who owns an advertising firm.
Yeah.
And we were chatting about the podcast, and he mentioned that one of his clients is one of these green burial people out in Colorado.
Yeah.
And he kind of described it as you put the body in a burlap sack and stick it in a hole.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I specifically told him, I said, that is very incorrect. I said the EPA would never allow that, and now I'm a liar.
Well, you're not a liar. You're just mistaken.
I don't know why sometimes I pretend like I know stuff, because I don't, clearly.
Well, you're like my kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's where it came from.
Yeah. But no, it's very difficult to explain to somebody what's going to happen to this body 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, because they just died. Mama just died. I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm really devastated about Mama dying. Okay? I'm not gonna have breakfast with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay? So then they've got some ass like me saying, look, you don't want to do that because da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So what we do is we accommodate their wishes, and people will do crazy things, like they'll bury Mama, unembalmed, shallow, in a green burial, and they'll plant like a plum tree on her.
Uh-huh.
And then, 3 years later, they come by, pick a plum, and say, boy, Mama tastes great.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
That is...
I kind of want to do that. I think that might be cool.
No. Yuck.
It's the way...
It is organic.
It is very organic. It's like
back into the
cremations.
trees.
It's like cremations. Cremation's very organic. When I hand a family, and I ask a family, well, what are we going to do with the cremains? And they say, oh, well, we're going to throw them out. Wait a minute. This is your mother. We're not just going to throw your mother out. Well, we're going to take her up in a plane. We're going to throw her out over the lake. Okay? Mm-hmm. First of all, that's illegal. People do it every day. It's illegal. But there's a guy out in California that advertised that he had a small plane. He'd take the cremains up in the air over the Pacific Ocean out from, I think it was San Diego, and you just throw them out.
Mm.
And
like just him goes up there? The family's not up there on a ride along or anything?
It's a little bitty plane.
He just chucks them out the window.
He just full of cremations, and he just kind of throws them out, just like one right after the other. Okay.
Okay.
And so the state comes in to do their little, and that California's a different kind of state. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're kind of live and let live kind of state, mm-hmm. and they check on you occasionally.
They got a lot of people there.
Yeah,
they're busy.
Yeah. But they go in to check this guy that's going to throw Mama into the ocean. Well, hell, he had like 3,000 cremated bodies mm-hmm. in his little storage unit at the airport.
Oh, God.
He just forgot to dump.
Oh.
And they're paying him like, I don't know, $500-600 to throw Mama into the ocean.
You have your pilot's license, right, Daniel?
I don't. I can solo. I can fly by myself. Now, flying by myself, does that include a cremated person?
Yeah.
Uncle Bill's got his pilot's
I know.
license.
I foresee a future business opportunity.
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
Wow, that's crazy. Did he get arrested or fined?
Yeah, they did. Even though they...
a contract, though, right?
Exactly. It's not a big deal as far as law is concerned. And even in California, it's against the law.
Yeah.
To do breach of contract.
Now, I'm sorry.
No, he just took their money and he didn't provide service. That's it.
So, follow-up question, since we're talking about all the organic stuff.
Yeah.
Now, like somebody like Willie Nelson or somebody like that gets cremated, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to smoke the ashes.
Yeah.
What?
Have you ever heard of that? Is that something?
Well, I mean, think about it. Don't you remember when Keith Richards' daddy died? he had him cremated. And he told an interviewer at the time that he cut a line of his daddy and snorted him.
Oh, gross.
And it just went around the world, you know.
Because it's disgusting.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. And all of a sudden, then even Keith Richards knew he had gone too far. And he started backpedaling and going, no, I was just kidding. I can't do an English accent, but I was just kidding. So, but if I hand you cremains, whatever you want to do with them is your business. You know, the problem with all of this green burial, with all of this cremation, with all of this sort of stuff, we are a creature of remembrance. You have to go somewhere to remember. You talked about, we talked earlier before all of this was aired about a state park where they buried people and they had trees and they had little memorials there beside the trees. You have to have a place to go remember.
Yeah.
You got to have a place to go remember your mom. Not necessarily me, but your Uncle Bill, you know. You got to have a place to go and say, that's my Uncle Bill. That's my mother.
Yeah.
That's the man that married my mother and that fathered me.
Yeah.
Whatever you call me at that particular time. But you've got to have a place to go remember, because that's part of what human beings do.
Yeah. I think that's really beautiful. And we've talked about that several times on the show before, where people have called in or they've sent us emails about drunken mistakes that they did with ashes.
Yes.
And that was one of the key things, was they either buried the ashes or they threw them out or they did something and they regretted it. So I think that's like a beautiful thing to remember. And it sounds like organic burials might not be for everybody, but it might be for a lot of people.
Well, you find organic burials more popular around places where there are, and this really sounds elitist, and I don't mean to sound elitist, but around population centers around major colleges.
Okay.
For instance, like Durham, North Carolina, it's ripe with natural burial, green burial, organic burials, because there's 5 different major universities right there.
Yeah.
You know, Duke and Durham and
Right.
all of those universities.
Yeah, I haven't heard of a single green burial location in North Georgia,
No.
up where we live.
No, we're not into that much, you know. But that's where you find it more.
Do you feel like it's a trend that we're going to see continuing and growing?
No, I don't. I think that you're going to see a trend of cremation growing. I do. But I don't think, because it's a hassle to do green burial. You know, I mean, we're going to wrap mama up in a sheet, and we're going to, first of all, it's not easy to carry somebody wrapped up in a sheet, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so all of these things are great ideas and they're wonderful in theory, but the reality of it is it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it often costs more money.
Really?
And when it starts costing more money, that's when the world starts changing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, guys, we had probably, I can't even talk about how many questions. I probably got 10 different questions about organic burials, especially right after Luke Perry's passing. So, thank you for sharing that. And rest in peace, Luke Perry. You were an awesome guy. And, it sounds like you continued your legacy of being a good green guy.
I just hope that they put like edible mushrooms and not those poisonous mushrooms.
God. Too far.
Oh, sorry.
But guys, we are so thankful for the show, and we're really excited to be filming or recording in beautiful Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And be sure to share this episode with your friends and family. We keep growing and growing and growing.
Listen, if you don't like us, don't tell anybody. If you do like us, tell everybody you meet.
That's right. And we have such a big Instagram following. So thank you all for sharing and tagging us. Keep the emails coming. I didn't call out specific emails. Usually we do. But we just got so many around organic burials, and it's so funny how it comes up in conversation. So thank you guys for continuing to bring us those questions. Be sure to call us, leave us a voicemail. You can email us or direct message us on any of our social media platforms. And always remember,
we'll be the last ones to let you down.
Start your own podcast just like we did over here at Caskets and Cocktails? You can do it yourself. Go to anchor.com. It's free, it's easy, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. You can record and edit. They'll distribute your podcast everywhere. You can make money from your podcast. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.